Again, this is marketing smarter, not harder. This is definitely not teleconference 101 because I would have failed miserably. So let's let's kick it off today. So my name is Joe Kohegyi. Again, I am a director of marketing channel activation here at Calix. I've been with the company about 9 months now, coming up on 10 months. Prior to this, I was a telecommunications marketer representing a regional ISP in north central Wisconsin. And so got very familiar with trying to do more with less at times, right? That's something that we all can relate to, I think. And that's the whole point of, I think, today's conversation is ways that we can do more with less, be a little bit smarter and a little bit more strategic about how we think about our marketing operations. Maybe you're a team of 2 or a team of 10 if you're so lucky with deep budgets and you have a lot of these things already solved. But I think there's something here for everybody to get into. So today I want to talk about what does smarter actually mean. And I think from a couple of the other bullet points, we'll kind of get into that, defining what those objectives may be, being data-driven, solving for the subscriber experience, and ways that we can automate this process so we can do more with less. And not only just that, but it allows us to focus on things that are important, which really are those KPIs, which is also about new product introductions and ways that we can continually drive value back to our subscribers. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to accomplish. So what does it mean? A smart telco marketer uses a particular formula to define objectives and leverage data/platforms to achieve outcomes. Now, this is different for everybody, right? We all have different size organizations. We may be a cooperative. We may be strictly kind of for profit, although I think we're all for profit for that matter. But different operations have different strategies, different focuses. But we can all do these things a little bit smarter so we don't get kind of stuck in the weeds, doing other things like marketing, corporate communications, and some internal things, product support pieces. Those are all very, very important. But at the end of the day, we really need to be focused on driving value, owning the subscriber experience, and those KPIs, which we'll talk about coming up. So our main goal really should be to own the subscriber experience. What is that? Well, it's really everything that goes on within the home. I always joke with folks that I talk to and customers throughout the world, quite frankly, at the how do I say it while being polite, is that our subscribers, for all intents and purposes, just think that their internet is their Wi-Fi and their Wi-Fi is the internet. So the subscriber experience is really everything that connects to their Wi-Fi. It's everything that they interact with within the home, whether that be gaming experiences or IoT, working from home, now schooling from home and teaching from home, as many of us parents have to do today. So there's sort of this stratification, and this has changed since, even more recently, since March for a lot of us. But I mean, it even goes back years and years and years ago when speed and feeds and promotions and these types of things and internet connectivity all started to become a little bit more commoditized as more providers started coming into our space. And quite frankly, as the propagation and sophistication of wireless has kind of caught up. And so now as service providers, we're thinking about new ways to differentiate as well as to provide an enhanced level of service. So that's really what the subscriber experience is all about. So to be a smarter marketer, to market smarter, not harder, you have to start with defining a clear set of objectives. So this is something throughout my career and various other industries that I've been a part of is not always easy, right? It's easy to kind of get lost in sort of the day-to-day. What does my CSR group need? They need product support information, or for instance, what does the PR group need for a cooperative day or our annual meeting, or just in general community outreach? A lot of PR stuff that we do as service providers in the community, which is all fantastic for brand building, but kind of detracts from some of the other important things around our marketing objectives. So for instance, acquisition being a very, very large element of these things. So as a marketer who wants to do things a little bit smarter, clearly defining what is your acquisition strategy? What does that look like? Right? Maybe you're 100% fiber built. You're not expanding out. You're not edging out. You're not looking at new opportunities, whether that be through RDOF or other opportunities. So you're kind of good where you're at. Okay, great. How do you know that you've maximized that plant in the ground? Do you know? Right? Do you know what that total addressable market is? How many vacant drops you have that don't have any service on it? New build connects. So as you go into maybe new areas or trying to expand out, what does that look like? Right? How many of those folks in that area are eligible, and how are you tracking that going forward? And that really is driven by your key metrics. So what are take rates, penetration rates, and percent of service that is active? Clearly defining that will allow you to put more effort or less effort into those particular marketing strategies, marketing objectives. So how aggressive do you want to be in particular areas? Or are you just applying that across the board more uniformly? Right? So as you think about acquisition, how can you best spend into certain areas to get ROI, right? It makes less sense to go spend in an area of high saturation. 80% take, 70% take, just sort of depends on your particular area. But how do you know if you don't define it? So it's really important to take a hard look, pull that data together, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and then break it down. So then you, as a marketer, can be much more strategic as you look into these particular areas to find the opportunity. Okay. Number 2, retention, aka engagement, loyalty. You can call this many, many different things. Essentially, what this is your existing subscriber, base. So within this bucket of strategic marketing activities is understanding product fit. Are my subscribers really on the right tier? Do they have managed Wi-Fi? Am I missing an opportunity to introduce a new product, right? How do I know if their experience is satisfactory? What sort of data can we pull to tell us that? And how best are we addressing unsatisfied customers? And I don't just mean unsatisfied, like, do you feel your install today was satisfactory? Although that's one part of it. It's really about, in the moment, are they getting the best in-home experience possible? And how are you addressing that? What type of data can you pull to help tell that subscriber story? And then what are those metrics, right? Churn, ARPU, take rate, lifetime value. There could be many. Those are just a good example of the ones that I know I've used to track, and I know other service provider marketers use to track retention activities. And so I'll just kind of pause there for a second, because I think those are two really, really simple things. They seem simple, right? I have acquisition, new customers, and I have retention engagement, which is existing customers. But I got to tell you, so many times I talk to peers and colleagues that just say, yeah, we kick out a new customer promo, and it just sort of runs into perpetuity, and we'll check it at the end of a quarter or maybe at the end of the year. As far as the retention side goes, they really don't look past the new install. Like, if a new subscriber comes online, they've done a great job, they got the website where it needs to be, and then after sale, things drop off. Okay. So let's look at it a little bit more holistically. What does this actually look like when we think about defining things, building marketing across the entire subscriber journey, aka subscriber's experience? It looks a little bit like this. So if you're familiar with the bow tie funnel, it works horizontally left from right, right? So you address your marketing size, like I talked about, awareness on the website. This might be more community PR type stuff. And then eventually they either call, they activate on the web via a form, or live chat if you have something like that, or they come into office. Hopefully they come into office soon. And then there's a sale. And then, a lot of times things stop. But in true fashion, account growth, retention, and those types of activities happen post-sale. So we can address the satisfaction of the experience. What about second purchases? And what do I mean by that is probably second line item purchases. So maybe they're just a broadband only subscriber, but I'm sure that they like to watch local news or stream or other things of that nature. So what sort of product offering can you market towards them that would make sense? Maybe it's an IPTV service if you have that, or um, more of a streaming type of a service like a Mobi, or maybe it's managed Wi-Fi. It just sort of depends on where you're at within your market mix that allows you to drive account growth for them, right? What is that? Well, it's ARPU and it's margin and it's these kind of metrics that we would trace back. And then the one all the way to the right, which is more of a referral base. And I think what this one here in our world really starts to become is, how well are we perceived within the community? Additionally, out on social media with reviews and our followers and those kind of things. And we can kind of trace that back into the funnel on the other side as account growth. So a couple of things to consider there. Now, if I go ahead, we're going to start to look at, we have the model, we have our metrics in place, but how do we get them? How do we become a bit more data driven? And then how do we start to pull that information in? So when you start to create the strategic foundation and the structure of how you want to, market smarter by just looking at those key metrics, right? We have two. We have some acquisition, and pick a couple metrics that make sense. You don't have to bite off more than you can chew, especially if you're a little bit smaller and you don't have the resources to do this. But I guarantee you that if you can focus in on a couple of metrics between each of these areas, acquisition and retention, you'll be much more focused. You'll use your time much more wisely. I guarantee your marketing spend will come down because you'll be very, very strategic and in your marketing activities, because you will know where to spend, where to invest resources and energy. Okay, so being data driven is hyper important. So there's a couple of ways to do this, and I'm going to try to really get tactful here and break this down because I just don't want to say, oh, be data driven and you'll be great. But you need to know how to do that. And so simplifying the data to your KPIs, that's what I just explained, right? So on the acquisition side, you're probably going to need some engineering mapping data potentially and some billing data. This is if you are to assume that you want to focus on take rate, right? Market penetration, new build connection rate, right? Those are all kind of metrics that play into this, because we're not done as marketers just because we sold somebody one day, and we're not done just because we have service in a particular area. If we are going to prove out and receive an ROI of that investment into these particular markets, that we need to track this. So you do it with three metrics, three ways to do that. So get yourself some engineering mapping data, make sure that that's cross-referenced against billing data, and then you will have a repeatable data set that you will be able to start to map and create dashboards from. We'll get into that next. So understand your TAM, which is total addressable market. Okay, that's just really everybody in a particular exchange, maybe a county, maybe it's in a neighborhood or one block. What is that total addressable market? From there, you can understand, all right, where I have plant, where I have, fiber loops and this, that, and then, you can then say, all right, well, what's my total serviceable addresses? Okay, so now you're looking at, the division of that against your TAM, and now as a percentage how many of those total addressable addresses are really serviceable. And then from there, what's the total active addresses? And this is really your take rate. And now you can track that. Now you can go into markets that have opportunity. You can go into neighborhoods, start marketing against that. And then you can rinse and repeat and review the data because you have the formula. Okay, so from a retention side or an engagement side, how do we simplify that? So again, billing data plus really net flow data. If we're looking at this strictly from a broadband perspective, and you can do this with other data sets. So for instance, if you were going to look at your IPTV service, you can pull information out to do a lot of these exact same metrics. It just sort of depends. But we're going to look at it from a billing, a billing and a net flow perspective as it relates to broadband. So if you can cross-intersect those things together, so you know what's going on within the home, and we'll talk about that in a second, you can clearly identify take rates, identify churn or churn risk, and mitigate that, quantify your average revenue per user on a broadband product category perspective, and then what are the additional add-ons that could fall underneath a particular subscriber. So for us, it's very important that we understand, are they at risk of or vulnerable to, cyber threats? Well, yeah, everybody is, right? So network level security as an add-on, right? In the age of everybody at home, enhanced parental controls, right? Are you selling an enhanced parental control add-on? How do you know that, and how do you track that? Right? You can do that with the billing data as well as some of the net flow information that we have. So I'll talk about that in a minute. All right. So once you have all that data analyzed and focused in on, you can start to own the subscriber experience, which really is your growth opportunity in the new era. I mean, we really are, as service providers, moving into a new era where, for all intents and purposes, right, access lines are either holding steady or on a decline as far as your landlines go, right? Call features, these kind of things, ways we used to market that in the past, on the decline. The stickiness of a triple play, not as sticky anymore, although video is still very, very important, just where consumers and subscribers are getting it in different methods. And it's not as profitable as it once was. We could go on and on about retransmission fees and those kind of things, but really at the end of the day, us as service provider marketers, we need to look for new opportunity, and it's found within the home. So a little meme I made: what you think the internet is, and what your subscribers think the internet is. And so it's a little fun amongst friends here to really point out the fact that what we once thought as providing a great service to our end users and subscribers has moved well beyond the side of the house to the in-home experience. And so they view it as how they interact with it. It's use case versus the technological back office working. So they really want to know that they can connect and they can watch whatever they want, and that they can automate their home experience, and they want it to work room to room, inside, outside. It's becoming more and more ingrained into everything we do, and there's no signs of that slowing down. So understanding your subscribers is not just about understanding where they are and where they can get service, but it's understanding about who they are inherently in their interaction with your service inside their home. And at no time like the present is it so important to understand what they're doing, how they're using it, and are they really having a good experience, because the demands on the in-home network are unprecedented right now. So they think their Wi-Fi is internet, their internet is Wi-Fi, and so being on the best Wi-Fi is super important. That may mean Wi-Fi 6, that may mean mesh coverage, but do you know to this level what's going on inside the home? And so it's really important that we do, if we're going to own the in-home subscriber experience. So how do we market around this experience? Right, I showed you a screen there, this one here, with all sorts of streams radio on Spotify and YouTube, and I see connected devices and IoT and working from home and these kind of things. That starts to bring about persona-driven marketing. So within particular buckets, whether it be work from home, a streamer, a gamer, right, a family, understanding those different personas will allow you to market experiences specific to their their needs. And that's much different than things that we used to do back, not too long ago, where it was like, get the fastest internet and it's symmetrical speeds and it's all this other stuff and it's fiber, which is all super important. But to the end user, they want to know how it's going to work in their world. And that's what persona-driven marketing is all about. So taking from that point will allow you to engineer market messaging and offers that are specific to that persona. Okay, such as Wi-Fi or as a service, aka managed Wi-Fi. A Wi-Fi for a gamer is much different than a Wi-Fi experience from a work from home. Yes, it needs to work. Yes, it needs to connect and be able to do all those things. But the way you talk about it is very, very different, and ways that they activate are very, very different as well. So a gamer has much more need for high performance, low latency, low ping, these kind of things. No lag, I think I already mentioned. That's less important to somebody who's just using it for a great in-home Wi-Fi network. So optimizing for whole home is another way we market around experience, because like I said, it's not just about having it work in the living room, it's about having it work everywhere, quite frankly, and that's the expectation. Is it safe and secure? We see across all of the service providers we talk to, as well as the data that we have, security, safety, privacy, these are things that subscribers want, and they want to know that you're offering it. So what are ways that you can do that? Potentially through great security protocols that you have, or network level security offered as a service. Additionally, control and simplicity. Is it simple and is it easy to control? And quite frankly, we underestimate our subscribers sometimes. They do a really good job of wanting to command control of their in-home experience. They get apps, and so do you offer one? Are you actively marketing an experience around a mobile application for your managed Wi-Fi, as an example? These are all things that the customers expect, because quite frankly, consumer products like, let's just use Google Nest or Netgear Orbi or something along those lines. They do a really slick job providing an interface, easy setup. They can control things, have advanced features, all from the palm of the hand. So that's how another way we can market around experience. All right, we're going to end off with some automation, because if we're going to market smarter and not harder, we need to have these things work on our behalf. We need to have the data sets match against the strategy, and then have either platforms or tools that allow us to automate the process, so we can react, adapt, and then move into market in new ways, which will free us up all to have more time to do all those other day-to-day operations as well that we have. So you can do it a couple different ways. One is to figure out ways to consolidate the data. And so you can get auto-gen reports through some billing systems. This is one of the ways that I know I did and operated within the billing system quite religiously for a good number of years prior to building into a platform, which I'll talk about next. So leverage the data within your billing system. Can you export it out in real time via some auto-gen reports and put it into, say, a data visualization tool like Power BI or Tableau? This doesn't have to be very difficult. It could just be a CSV file and you push it into Power BI on a monthly basis, right? Take all that subscriber information you have, and again, keep it specific to one of your KPIs. Don't try to boil the ocean. Pull that out, export it in, slice and dice it, and start to create yourself some real-time dashboards and lists so you can track and market against those lists. So as an example, let's say I had a broadband package tiered portfolio that looked a little bit like this. I had a 10-1, 50 by 10, and 100 symmetrical, right? I would just want to pull that report consistently, either on a weekly or a monthly basis, import that into Power BI, and then look to see ways that I can track maybe progress against a promo, to move those 10 ones up, create those lists. Maybe I engage my CSR group to do outbound calling against that lower tier to get them to move up into a higher one. Those are simple ways that you can pull the data, quickly visualize it, and then track against it. Now, I say quickly, but this does take time. You have to still pull down the reports, you have to put it in, you have to analyze it, and then you have to do something with the list and market against it. This does take a little bit more effort, but it's doable. That said, there's other ways, and there are integrated solutions. And that's the beauty of where we are at today in 2020 as marketers, that there are platforms available that are flexible. They have open APIs. They allow data to come in. The querying actually happens in real time within the platforms. They come with built-in dashboards. They're very actionable, and they have some accessible data, right? And so that's the beauty of a software as a service or a platform as a service, and they exist. And right, so here it comes. The Calix Marketing Cloud is one of those exact things. It takes all of your subscribers and puts them in one location. It's the intersection of your subscriber billing information as well as some of that net flow information, right? To create a real-time dashboard that has deep persona segmentation, analysis of retention and acquisition opportunities, allows you to track campaign performance and understand trends, right? So now in one dashboard and one insights area, I mean, amongst many, many other things, you can come in, know who my churn risks folks are, how many new customers have I gained today, how many customers have I migrated up into a better experience via a new service tier or maybe an add-on like we talked about. It's all in one spot. And then when you're ready, you can quickly export out the information and use that to run your social media, right? Create those lookalike campaigns, direct target into specific areas, right? Use that for outbound customer engagement calls. How are things going? The list goes on and on. Now you've just avoided all of that legwork. You can pull down the information now and quickly move to action. And that's just smart, right? And that is the way modern marketers in large organizations work. And now any marketer in any organization can work the exact same way. So cut through all the difficult bits, move into the things that actually matter, and get results. So a couple key takeaways, right? You can start to unlock your potential by defining your metrics. That's the first step. Build your marketing products around the subscriber journey. Like I said, I took you through the bow tie, right? Bring them through the process. And then grow and scale towards the future. This will allow you to keep an eye on who's doing what within their home, in a sense, tailoring their experience in the products that make the most sense for them. And it allows you to do more with less. So I hope that was helpful. That is the end of my time. And I'm just going to check the chat here to see if anyone else had comments or questions. Yes, just a good reminder that all presentations are being recorded, so you can watch them later. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'm thankful to be a part of the Great Lakes Technology Showcase. This was great. Apologies again for my a little technical difficulties at the front end, but this was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you and your attention. Thank you.